Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mission Employable podcast. My name is Ben Oldak with here, of course, Kathy Leggett. Kathy, you are getting ready to go visit the hallowed ground of Lambeau Field.
I am. I'm so excited. Yay.
So the question is, do you have the warm gear prepared for Lambeau Field?
I do. I have my Carhartt overalls and my coat and hat and gloves, and boots, everything. I'm ready for the experience.
That's great to hear.
Yes.
In my personal news, I'm engaged.
Yay!
Yay.
Congratulations, Ben. Yes.
So yeah, no, it went great. Shout out to my fiance, Katie. I love her very much, and we are super excited for the future.
So great.
While she's not an apprentice, I won't hold that against her because today we are talking all about registered apprenticeship with Kolby Knupp. She's the program manager of the new Iowa Office of Apprenticeship, which is kind of a big deal. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Iowa Office of Apprenticeship and how that kind of differs from what we had in the past. So, Kolby, welcome to the Mission Employable podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit more about registered apprenticeships.
Yes.
Awesome.
And congratulations on, you said 6 months today with Iowa Workforce Development.
That's true.
So,
it's my 6-month anniversary.
That's right.
I'm really excited to be here.
All right. Just means it's tougher for us to get rid of you. Kidding, of course. But yeah, tell us a little bit about the Iowa Office of Apprenticeship and how it differs from what we had in the past. Because prior to this, the Department of Labor was kind of running the show here.
That's correct. Yep. So as of June in 2024, the Iowa Office of Apprenticeship took over as a state apprenticeship agency. And so that really allowed us to take the reins over from Department of Labor at the federal level and then gave us the oversight and kind of administration of all registered apprenticeship programs in the state. So very quickly we kind of had to pivot and kind of adopt and take on. We have all the work that goes into kind of managing and the oversight in relation to the apprenticeships. So we're kind of building up some of our systems and processes as well as policies around kind of helping our employer sponsors and how we facilitate relationships with apprentices across the state. And so again, it's kind of been a heavy lift, a lot of work in the first 6 months of my role, but really excited about the potential and opportunities that we can provide, not only for our employers and apprentices across the state, but then how that will help kind of fill those workforce needs in the state.
And quickly, can you remind our listeners how many currently sponsors do we have or programs, however you would categorize that?
Yeah. So we have just under 10,000 apprentices in the state of Iowa, which is really significant for the size of our state, and over almost to 1,000 sponsors currently who have registered apprenticeship programs, some of them with multiple occupations for which they apprentice. So again, we've really seen some growth over the past year and hope to have that continue, really diversify not only the people who are participating in the apprenticeships, but also maybe the occupations in which that we're offering apprenticeship opportunities.
Yeah.
Yes.
And while we're talking about apprentices, I want to just kind of do some housekeeping and kind of explain what registered apprenticeship is and like why that term registered is really important for you guys, because I know that it's like a very like it means more than we kind of give it credit for.
Of course. And so we do want to make sure we are acknowledging that all the programs that we oversee, are considered registered apprenticeships. So that basically requires that the Department of Labor has taken the time to kind of investigate and validate the occupations which build out that are used in those registered apprenticeship programs. So we can feel really confident then as we're building out these programs or occupations that they are really about kind of high-need careered fields, that they have the right skills and competencies that either the individuals who are working in those fields need or that an employer would need to use to really help ensure that this would meet their workforce needs. And so, again, you'll feel really confident as you build out your program that it's registered, knowing that it's kind of backed by this national network of industry-vetted kind of credentials. The benefit to an apprentice as well is that when they complete their program, they would then get a nationally recognized credential that can be transferable across the state. So if for some reason someone had to leave the state, which we hope doesn't happen, but if they did, they'd be able to use that nationally recognized credential, and it would show that they have the skills and kind of competencies in this field no matter where they live based on their completion of a registered apprenticeship. So again, we really find value in that and want to recognize the work and kind of commitment that it takes to build these up, but then also, again, making sure that we're kind of maintaining the integrity of the programs while it's registered.
Right.
Awesome.
And I think one other important piece, too, just to always throw out a reminder, is that registered apprenticeship is an employer-driven
Completely.
education and training, on the job learning opportunities. So
Correct.
really to meet employers' needs.
Of course. And again, that's where we talked about where the federal government gets buy-in and feedback from industry-led kind of professionals throughout the country to make sure that, again, when they're building out those occupations and establishing them, that, again, it is really meeting the criteria and needs of those workforce and career paths across the country. Thanks for that.
And what are some of the Iowa Office of Apprenticeships goals moving forward over this next year?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're really hoping to obviously dive in a little bit deeper to look at kind of a landscape view of the efforts that we already kind of have in place and then where we might have some potential to expand. So again, I think we're looking to make sure that we're obviously diversifying our workforce and making sure that lots of different types of people or demographics can participate in registered apprenticeship programs. We also want to make sure that we're diversifying the occupations that are built out. It's very heavy or very kind of built out for trades because they've been doing it for many years, but there is a potential that we could start to expand this into other fields over time, and that would be a huge goal for us to not only expand across the state, but again in different ways or different pathways for folks to participate. I think we're also looking to provide more technical assistance and support for our current employers, our sponsors who are participating, making sure that they feel, the support and resources and have the resources that they need so that they can function and maintain their own programs individually with their support from our office.
So that is, as you mentioned, that is a heavy lift with, like I think you said around 1,000 programs now.
Correct.
Is just in this transition to work to reach out to all of them,
Correct.
See how things are going, support them in the future. So is it, do you have some other staff? I'm hoping that it's not just you, right?
That's correct, yeah. So we do have a staff of 10 now. So
Okay.
4 of those individuals are apprenticeship program coordinators who are individuals who will be working specifically with the employers or prospective sponsors to help build out and develop and then kind of manage and maintain their programs. We have quite a few other supplemental staff from a director as well as an admin and then some grant specialists as well as some folks kind of tied into work-based learning who really kind of provide that behind-the-scenes effort and support that help to ensure that, again, all the systems are in place, that there's communication going out, and that we're helping to provide that technical assistance and support.
That's great.
Another new piece we've also taken on is the compliance and monitoring of many of these registered apprenticeship programs, which is new for not only our office, but also then maybe for the sponsors somewhat. And so wanting to make sure that we're being transparent about what those require and what we can do to kind of maintain some of those compliance measures to ensure the safety and well-being of our apprentices participating.
Yeah.
Oh, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit in one of the previous questions, is that you're looking to kind of expand the profile of what industries are taking advantage of these kinds of programs.
Yep.
Do you have anything off the top of your head that you've seen that you thought, oh, we could do more of this? Because I know that there are apprenticeship programs in the state that aren't like the traditional trades, but obviously not as many.
Yes, that's correct. So again, even Iowa is very heavy in the trade areas, but 2 major expanding areas that we've seen kind of take off in the last year or so have been in healthcare, as well as also in some of our teacher preparation programs, which we're really excited about. These are 2 high-need fields in the state that we're looking to fill pipelines and workforce needs. And so this is a great opportunity where employers are maybe not choosing a traditional path for hiring folks and looking to say, how can we help someone kind of earn and learn as they work through some of the competencies and work skills so that they can function in these career paths.
Yeah, and I mean, we might have talked about it before on this show, but I mean, there's apprenticeship programs in IT. We saw a registered apprenticeship program that was for like a watchmaker.
Sure.
We obviously think of trades primarily, and like you said, we're kind of expanding into like healthcare and teaching and some of those high demand career fields. But it's also malleable enough where you can take a program like this and apply it to something that would be really, really non-traditional when you think of apprenticeship.
Correct. I think I just would like to acknowledge that many of the most successful programs are programs or occupations which probably require roughly about a year's worth of training, recognizing there might be an ebb and flow to a system or cycle, multiple different layers of tasks or responsibilities that are required of an individual, and those are usually the ones that work best when we set up an apprenticeship program. Those are kind of that is one part of the main components of a registered apprenticeship is that 2,000 hours of on-the-job learning that is required of the program. And so again, 2,000 hours equates to roughly about 1 year of training. And so, again, that's where we see the most success. Other occupations, what we do know that currently are set up for the state of Iowa are similar to what you listed. There's even a chef, there's a veterinarian technician opportunity, graphic design, even a locksmith. So, again, it can be something that you may not even be thinking that could be an apprenticeship, but we can definitely work to kind of find a pathway that may be applicable.
Yeah. I was just going to say, it's a good reminder for employers to look at themselves and think, can I make this a registered apprenticeship program? Sure. And the answer more often than not is yes. Like,
correct.
You can do it.
And we, or at least love to have the conversation to kind of unpack what that could look like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, so again, I always just want to do an encouragement for anybody listening. If this is something that, you're intrigued about, or you think this might be a possibility, reach out, because we have a full office staffed to help you and have those conversations. And then support, if it is the path, to support the work that it takes to get there and to maintain it. So please do reach out. I think you did mention, and maybe it's just good to do a review about the components of a registered apprenticeship program. So if you want to just take us through those components, like what are those consistent components of every registered apprenticeship?
Yeah, so it's obviously a job. So an apprentice gets hired into that, and it is a paid job from day one. So we need to make sure that employers understand that. And then there's two main components, as I mentioned, the on-the-job learning, which is kind of learning the competencies and skills to complete the work daily, but then also 144 required hours of related instruction or supplemental education that would support that on-the-job learning. Those are two major components in which kind of help facilitate the work. We obviously are protecting the safety and well-being of apprentices, making sure that those standards are very high in the apprenticeship, as well as diversifying the work and making sure that it's accessible to as many people as possible. Again, the nationally recognized credential is obviously a key component as well. And then we want to make sure that that there is an increase in wages as the apprentice earns more skills and more abilities over time. They do get a progressive wage change or increase in their time frame as well. So again, it's really comprehensive in the sense of all the components that go into it, but really want to make sure that we can again guide prospective employers or sponsors through that as they build out their occupations.
Yeah, and so and I'm sure I've said this before, but I do just want to also bring in the points that these are great opportunities for, as you said, to make the training available to a wide variety of individuals, because there are, you can tap into, I think, if you do a registered apprenticeship, you can tap into a group of potential employees that you're maybe not tapping into now, those who need to earn why they learn. That's a big percentage of people, and then also those who really want to learn by doing.
Sure.
So it just opens the door for a lot of individuals and maybe a population you haven't tapped into.
Definitely. I think this can be a new kind of method or a new path for post-secondary education opportunities. If maybe they're not looking at a more traditional pathway, it could also be an opportunity for employers to upskill or retrain, current workers that they already have, or maybe allow them to upskill into, supervisory roles.
Right.
So how an employer chooses to use this pathway can be, limitless in some ways, but again, using it as one tool of many options is a great resource.
Yeah, and I often think about too, and when I talk with employers about thinking about this opportunity for those jobs that are hard to fill.
Sure.
Maybe you're just advertising, looking and not getting anybody. Maybe apprenticeship is a model. And also for those jobs, when we have people aging out of the workforce, they're going to retire. They have a huge amount of knowledge.
Sure.
And as an employer, you don't want to lose that knowledge. And an apprenticeship program can help transfer the knowledge that those individuals have into other apprentices, and then hopefully you retain that even when they're gone. So
yep, that's a great point. And again, that brings up another major component, is that for every apprentice that's working in the field, they also need to be assigned to a journey worker or mentor, and there's a 1-to-1 ratio that our apprentice programs require. So it's really important that employers understand that they're going to keep this journey worker or mentor with their apprentice throughout the entire time that person is earning and learning, to ensure that, again, we're monitoring the safety and well-being, but also, again, transferring that knowledge and skills along the way. With that same kind of plug, I'll acknowledge that employer does not need to take on 10 apprentices all at once. You can start with just one apprentice, kind of test the waters, and then as it works or becomes scalable, you can always consider bringing on more individuals to fill up your pipeline.
great.
Yeah,
Great
that
point.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So for people that might not know, Governor Reynolds just announced that this is Registered Apprenticeship Week here in the state of Iowa. There was a proclamation signing that happened last week, and at the Broadlawns apprenticeship program that was pretty cool. And like that means something to apprenticeship programs in the state. Can you kind of talk about like what it means to be kind of recognized like that and the support behind it?
Yeah, it was lovely that the governor was able to come and recognize not only the work that Broadlawn specifically is doing with some of their kind of innovative apprenticeship programs, but also it's nice to recognize that the state of Iowa and the state government is really kind of invested into this pathway and pipeline that can really help to build out the workforce. We know it's not the only resource that's available, but we really believe in this work and that it can be a really viable pathway for individuals and again, employers to consider. And so again, having that state support, recognizing the work that our sponsors or employers are doing, the investment that they're making when they build out an apprenticeship is huge. And again, we really hope that having a designated office in the state now to really help not only maintain but also allow this work to grow will be really lucrative and be really beneficial for employers across the state.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to hit on, was the idea that, like, if there's an employer that hasn't started a program yet and they're kind of feeling apprehensive about the amount of like time and effort that they have to put into it, they should rest easy knowing that like the state is fully behind this and committed to making these programs work.
Yeah, we do also have a few state grant-funded programs available that can help employers as they get started and or in some of the first few years of kind of creating some sustainable resources to help offset some of the costs for starting this. And so definitely we can speak to that as employers are maybe dipping their toe in the water or wanting to get started. There can be other resources that can support them. The other benefit is that the Iowa Office of Apprenticeship is a part of Iowa Workforce Development. So there's obviously also a series of other programs and systems that are in place with that network that we can also tap into and utilize to kind of overlap or supplement the apprenticeship program, which is really great.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if you have any specific statistics, but, obviously, as you kind of indicated at the beginning of the podcast, we want people to stay here, right? Even though the national credential is available, which again is absolutely awesome. But certainly we're interested in keeping people here in Iowa. How do you have any information, even anecdotally, about registered apprenticeship and retention? Staying at their companies, staying, in the location, anything like that?
Yeah. So some of the Department of Labor's statistics show that about 90% of apprentices who participate in a registered apprenticeship program end up being retained by that employer,
oh, that's
which is
amazing.
pretty
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah.
Again, we really find that probably much of this kind of retention that they find is probably based on a few components of the work. Not only is it the investment of the employer from day one into this individual, but as the apprentice then is kind of earning and learning, they're obviously buying into the culture of that organization from day one, and then they're also getting trained in the customized systems and processes of that organization. So just naturally it kind of is a strong investment for that employer to take the time and energy to build this out, to establish this work. It is a commitment. We don't want to deny that, and are fully transparent about the work to administer and kind of manage an apprenticeship program, but want to recognize that again many employers have found the value and investment kind of is significant long-term for them, as opposed to then constantly hiring or kind of rehiring individuals to enter the workforce or fill their pipeline.
Yeah, that's huge, because retention is a massive issue, and being able to, like, if you're an employer that is seemingly hiring and then seeing people leave and then bringing more people in, consider building a registered apprenticeship program, because like you said, 90% is a massive number. Mm-hmm. And not only are you getting people to stay, mm-hmm. you're also getting people to stay that you've trained and yourself, that know your business inside and out. Correct. And are kind of, you can mold them early on, and then they become this incredible employee for you.
Yeah, and like I said, you can start with just one apprentice, one occupation, and then as it works for you or when you can scale it, then you can look at considering it for other occupations or career paths within your organization, or expand it in different ways. So again, happy to help navigate that for any employers who are considering it.
That's right. So the doors are open. Iowa Office of Apprenticeship is here and ready to serve the Iowans, with already apprenticeships, helping with that, but then setting up new ones, new opportunities to grow that workforce that you need, and new opportunities for Iowans who really want to get their hands, busy and an opportunity to learn. So when people are interested, how can they connect with the Iowa Office of Apprenticeship?
Yeah, so our best resource would be our website, which is new and a part of the IWD website. So it's apprenticeship.iowa.gov. And once you're on that website, we have an apprenticeship sponsor interest form. That interest form will collect some preliminary information from prospective sponsors. It'll get connected to our office where we can reach out and follow up.
That's great. So simple process. So check it out, and you'll get to connect with one of our great Iowa Office of Apprenticeship staff folks.
Yeah, we're so excited. Thank you.
Kolby, thank you so much for coming on to the Mission Employable podcast, talking all about registered apprenticeship on a big week for RA programs
right.
across the state, because it's also National Apprenticeship. National Registered Apprenticeship Week as well.
And actually on that point, maybe I'm assuming there's some stuff on the website that people can just check out, because we'll be highlighting many different programs and successes during the week. So it might be just a good way to learn a little bit more about it.
Sure.
If you want to.
Yeah, definitely. Check out our website, and then obviously IWD's social media pages. We're highlighting some of the events that are happening with current sponsors of apprenticeship programs, connecting with individuals across the state to make sure that they are also celebrating the work that apprentices are doing.
That's awesome.
All right, Kolby, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank
Thank you.